that, Bree, but I just wanted to bring up a relative of, well, let's just get Yolanda. Good morning, Yolanda.
Half a day.
If you could just confirm that the a woman who passed from the COVID-19 was Doring Jesus, correct?
Yes, she was my Auntie Doring.
And
First of all, our condolences. And I can't even imagine how difficult this has been for you guys. Yoli, could you take us just back to when the family first found out that Auntie Doring had contracted COVID-19?
You know, we kind of left that when we found it out. I'm so sorry. It's just we heard like a lot of things on the media about this happening and all the speculation with family coming back from off island, and just knowing that we had family coming back from off island and that she was also in the hospital. We kind of put it together, but when we actually realized was when also in WhatsApp someone actually mentioned her name, and that kind of, we never really were officially told, you know, it was all through social media. And we tried contacting her daughter, but it was really hard to get in touch with her. So it was only about maybe on Sunday or Saturday when last week when we actually put it together. But it was never really confirmed to us until later in the week.
I'm sorry, but how long was she in the hospital?
From what I can recall, is she was in the hospital on Saturday. Last week Saturday.
Okay. For more than a week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a majority of her family lives off island?
The majority of her immediate family, her granddaughters, her grandson, her but her daughter is on island, and one of her sons is also off island. Mm-hmm. But she only has one of her children on island.
I see.
Can you tell us about your Auntie Doring? Because, there was a poem that Auntie Doring had wrote. I'm going to read it out on Facebook, but to me, it really kind of captured a lot of things, and that, we didn't know her name. I mean, well, we did. Heard, we just didn't, have it confirmed with any of the family. But I didn't like how she just became a statistic. You know what I mean? And this is a person who apparently, in talking to people, touched so many people's lives, and all she was known to us was as somebody who died of COVID-19.
Right. Yeah, Auntie Doring is actually my cousin. So this is someone in my family, and I know she must have been really frustrated, and needed to humanize our auntie, because I understand why no one released her name. We didn't even talk about her until we got permission from Lisa, out of respect for her privacy and for all that. But just reading some of the really, really terrible comments that are made about, assuming how she got it, and one of my nieces came back from Japan, and can you imagine if she thought that she was the one who gave it to her grandma, and all the speculation with how she got it. I mean, I understand it's a pandemic and people want to know, but just wait for the officials to say it. don't be like one of the so-called keyboard warriors and become automatically, you wake up one day and, wow, now I'm a doctor. So now I'm a reporter, and now I'm a Homeland Security advisor, and I know exactly how she got it. That's really hard for the family to read. But like everyone on Guam, we've lost someone. So everyone knows how that feels. Now add to that the fact that my cousin was not able to be with her mom when it happened.
Yoli, was this because of the isolation measures?
Yes, because of the isolation. My auntie was alone, and in Guam, when we know someone is passing, we all go to the hospital or to the home. If it's happening at home, we're all there to show our support. And even now, my family, we can't get together. And although everybody knows what it's like to lose somebody in their family, adding the fact that we can't even get together, and it's just really hard. And I wish people would be nicer about this online, because she has so many people who love her, and I just want to shout at everyone to just leave her alone. I'm sorry, it's hard to talk about it right now.
If you could just share, despite all the comments, just something that you remember her for. What type of person was she?
Yeah, she had a really beautiful voice. She did so much to add to the beauty of our culture. She was one of our aunties who was not shy to get on stage and be proud of our culture and sing and dance. But her voice was so pretty. I mean, like I wrote in my tribute to her, her voice was like sing-song, you know what I mean? It was gentle, and when it had to be firm, her voice was still pretty. Even if she was getting upset at you, her voice was still pretty. So that's what I remember of my auntie. She always had, like, in her younger days, she had her guitar with her, and she would sing. She sang in the choir at church. She was very musical. She could play piano, and she taught a lot of my cousins and me the Chamorro songs at Christmas and the hymns for Mass. It was all Auntie Doring in the choir all the time. Auntie Doring in the choir at Mass. And I believe it was just last year that she actually stopped being a member of the choir because of her declining health. But she was such a wonderful person, and she taught her kids. Honestly, she taught them, before anybody asks you to help, you ask them what they need. My cousin, if we're having a party or a get together, she would come over to the house and start working. I'm like, oh, Lise, don't worry about it. We didn't even start. But that was the way Auntie Doring taught her: is you don't wait to be asked to help. You go and you help. And it just breaks my heart, and the rest of my cousins too, that now that it's her turn to need our help, we can only just pray. But I wish people had, met Auntie Doring if they haven't met her. I mean, if they never had met her. She was really a beautiful person, and it's her voice. She had a very, very beautiful voice.
One of my friends, Father Eric, was telling me that Auntie Doring used to play organ in the parish in Saipan.
Oh, yes, she did. She did, because she lived in Saipan for a while, too. She was really good friends with Father Eric.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had some very, very nice things to say about Auntie Doring. But again, like we said, we didn't want to come out and announce anything out of respect for the family. And, we'd heard that Lisa was coming back to Guam. And And so you guys weren't told by public health, anything about your auntie's condition, or was that because maybe technically Elisa was the next of kin, and then she was the one that had to be notified, or
I really don't know. Maybe for me, public health never called me because I hadn't had any contact with Auntie Doring. Maybe they're just calling the people who had direct contact with her. I can't say why they didn't call me or the rest of the family. I don't know who they called in the family. You know what I'm saying?
And what are we doing about Rosaries? Obviously, many people on this island are dealing with the death of loved ones, and they're having to get creative. What is the family doing in terms of offering rosaries?
Okay, so I know that Lise is probably having her private rosaries with her kids via telephone or Zoom. Mm-hmm. But do you know Glenn Lujan from Different? Of course you know Glenn.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so each night we've been praying a rosary at 8 p.m. every night since even before she passed away. I was having a really hard time last week, Tuesday, and I asked him, I said, Glenny, hey, do you think we can be praying the rosary? And so he didn't even hesitate. So that's what we've been doing for, not just for her, but for everybody on Guam and all the people who are sick and all the healthcare workers and everybody just to be safe. We've been praying a rosary at 8 p.m. So tonight he does Facebook Live and he makes it public. And we're going to mention Auntie Doring tonight. Now that we have Lisa's permission to actually say her name in the intention, we'll go ahead and start saying that.
Okay.
What about funeral plans? We don't, I spoke with Archbishop last week. I know they're trying to keep the funerals small. You mentioned not being able to gather. One of the ways that we grieve our loved ones is by coming together. Without being able to do that, how are you guys planning the funeral? Is that even in the picture yet?
It's not even in the picture yet, and that's the wonderful thing that in our culture, right? Rosaries are not just for our deceased, it's for the family to come together. And right now, Lise is planning things, but I don't know when they're for. But I know we have to listen to the advice of the governor to keep our group small. So we can't just have a rosary of 50 because that's probably just my mom's side of the family or half of it, So I know that within 24 hours of her death, the policy was that she had to be either buried or cremated, and so I know her cremation took place already. But I think maybe we might just have to wait for all of this to end, the pandemic and the advisories. Once they're lifted, once the advisories to stay away from each other is lifted, we will most likely hear what Lisa has planned, because Auntie Doring's life deserves to be celebrated in a memorial. So I don't know if she and her immediate family are just going to have a private burial of her ashes, or I don't know. I just don't know any of that yet.
Yoli, we know that you weren't able to see Auntie Doring, during her last days after she passed. Was the family given an opportunity to say goodbye to her?
No, we were not. Yeah.
Yoli, we're going to read this poem from Anne again. And if you could, you got my number. I'll shoot it over to you. Send us the link for the rosary. We want to get that out. And, I know we can't come together in person. And I think a lot of times we forget that the rosaries aren't always for the dead. A lot of times they're for the living, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and so we want to definitely get that out and share that message, and we thank you for reaching out to us. I know this is a tough time for you guys, but really, again, like you said in the beginning, we wanted to share with the listeners around the island that the first COVID-19 fatality wasn't just a statistic.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yoli.
Okay, thank you.
You be safe, and you holler if there's anything we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, there you go. Wow, that I don't even know what to say, Bree.
I don't either. I think we should take a moment of silence.
Okay. And so this moment of silence, if you guys are just joining the show, that was Yoli Tenorio Palarca. She's a niece of Doring Jesus. The family, through social media posts and through contacting us, has confirmed that Auntie Doring Jesus was the first COVID-19 related fatality on Guam. And as you heard there, the family having a very hard time. They weren't able to see her because of the isolation efforts, weren't able to say goodbye to her after she passed.
And they had to cremate.
And they've already cremated her. And wow.
When things are calmed down, hopefully they'll be able to hold a memorial service. But for now, they're holding rosaries on Facebook Live with our friend Glenn Lujan. And so those rosaries are at 8 o'clock on Facebook Live.
And we're going to try and get that link for you guys. I wanted to play this song. We had him on yesterday, Joe Guam. And, there's a bunch of different artists who are doing live things,